the problem with calling everybody a sellout who doesn't do it exactly the way you want to do it is that you're not going to get anywhere. So I've created this new hashtag called fomenting discourse, because I think discord is okay, but not amongst the people that are fighting for the same things that you're fighting for. And I think that's very counterproductive. And that's just the way it is. It just gives people more.
And I will say this from my own personal standpoint, we are going to have to deal with Jimmy at some point because he has a very big following behind him.
I think it's getting smaller by the day.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I'll tell you something else, that I also saw a new phrase for followers that are doorknobs. I think is so funny.
But again, I'm not advocating for him. What I am saying though is the more we have this infighting, the harder it's going to be to actually get anything done.
Yeah.
You want to get caught up in this war of words. I do think that Jimmy's ideas and heart is in the right place, but he has no concept whatsoever about how to build bridges, because sometimes you have to swallow your pride, and he doesn't want to do that. We know that there are feckless and yes, grifters in the movement.
But AOC is not one of them.
She's not one of them. She's just not. When she starts taking corporate money and she stops talking about Medicare for all, living wage, ending the wars, and so on.
Call everybody and their mother a sellout is not going to help us.
Yeah. That's, again, it's like, is AOC an upgrade from Joe Crowley? Is Cori Bush an upgrade from Lacey Clay? Is Jamal Bowman an upgrade from Elliot Engel?
And I get what he's saying is that, but fundamentally, what are they doing? And I get that, because until we see something tangible, it is still left up in the air. However, yelling violently at people and calling them sellouts is not going to help.
And here's an idea, and we'll leave you guys with this. Forcing the vote is actually a very good idea. And I do think it should have had more teeth to it, as David Sirota suggested, as we suggested, that was not enough. Now, we don't know for sure what happened behind closed doors. You want to continue force the vote? Go force the vote in California, because California is very close to Medicare for all. They had it literally at the doorstep.
Yeah.
And Anthony Rendon, the Speaker of the California State Legislature, shot it down. Why don't you put the fight out to there?
I'm supportive of it, but I wasn't pushing it. I mean, I honestly didn't think it would do anything. It didn't. I also think that the idea of forcing people to a vote when they know it's not going to go through makes them more likely to say they'd support something that they wouldn't really support.
The key, but do
you see how you did that?
Yes.
See how you did that? Do you see how you did that? So I was never thinking it was that brilliant of an idea. But yeah, I supported it. Sure. I am of the idea that you throw enough shit against the wall, something's going to stick. So I'm not going to ruin someone else's idea. If you think that's going to work, go for it. I personally think that we have an accurate count of who supports it by the people that have already signed on to Pramila Jayapal's bill. So we already know who supports Medicare for all. That's just
I still believe that the biggest reason, and apparently the ratings for C-SPAN yesterday were off the charts, which is kind of funny if you think about it. But what I always maintained was the most important reason why force the vote was a great idea is because this needs to be in front of the MSNBC, CNN viewers, front and center, as often as humanly possible.
But that's not going to happen.
We have to do whatever we can to make it so. And a lot of people are agreeing with it. A lot of people do, again, almost 90%, 9 out of 10 Democrats prefer Medicare for all.
Well, I mean, most people support single-payer healthcare. We know that. And we know why it's not happening is we have a completely malfunctioning republic and all of that. But
which is why we have to build bridges and not burn them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the person who was effectively leading the force the vote movement had no problem burning bridges.
No,
it's not the answer.
Doesn't care.
It's not the answer.
No.
Have to get past that. We can make this so. And like I said, a lot of people want that to happen. And a lot of them are desperate. People are getting thrown out of their homes. They have no health care. They don't have a job. They have no money. So I don't blame them. You don't blame them.
I don't. And I understand the anger. And I have no problem with taking our representatives to task and having them be accountable. I think I say that all the time. So I have no problem with that. I have no problem calling them out. I'm pretty sure I said that Nancy Pelosi sucked ass the other day. And I do think Nancy Pelosi sucks ass. And I have no problem saying that. However, me saying Nancy Pelosi sucks ass is a very different thing than me looking directly at a camera, talking to her and calling her out on all sorts of stuff in a vicious, personal way. Because that's the thing. When it turns personal, now you're not talking about policy. Now you're not talking about progress. You're just getting personal. And when you start directing anger at somebody and talking at them in their face and getting all like that, yes, you don't think it's technically violent, whatever. It's harassing, and it is definitely misogynistic. And I am not someone who ever plays the misogyny card, because I am not about identity politics. But I'd be highly curious to see if somebody would talk directly like how he spoke directly to Alex in the camera. If somebody would talk directly like that to, say,
Tim Ryan,
to anybody that was a man, and with this sense of entitlement, like someone came on your show so they owe you something. That's no different than a corporate donor calling in a favor.
I'll tell you this much. Jimmy would never speak that way to Nina Turner. And Adam, that is a beautiful profile pic, I must say.
Yes.
For those of you who are still watching, as we are about to go off the air.
Yeah, we're going, but in case you missed it, Thursday night,
Nina Turner will be our special guest. And we are obviously going to talk about what just happened yesterday. We're going to talk about her race. We'll obviously be able to talk about what happened in Georgia. And I am of the mind that Nina is the one, as I always like to say.
Because she's a leader.
And not only that, and I think as important as anything, if Nina gets to Congress, she would take so much pressure off of AOC in terms of having to be responsible as the leader. Nina can take the heat. She is that person. And I'm not saying that Alex isn't capable. She is capable. But she has aspirations of going a lot further than where she is right now. And also,
look, let's not discount this key factor. There is an age and an experience factor and a maturity factor.
Yes.
And, look, I can only speak for myself, but there is a very big difference between the 30-year-old me and the 40-year-old me and the 50-year-old me has to be, right? So, when you're looking at someone like Alex, I think it's like, look, I want everybody to think back to what you were doing at 28 years old. And if, that was what you were doing.
And I know it's hard to believe, but Nina's actually 50.
Nina's amazing. And yes, I want to say this to Priyanka. You know what? I agree. We were talking about that earlier. I have no problem with negotiations. They just shouldn't ever be backdoor. I need to know what those are. I want to know what their tangibles are. Personally, I don't think there's any. Personally, I think that it was sort of just a theatrical stunt, just like Pelosi ripping up the paper.
Yes.
I actually don't think there were anything that they got. They got what they were going to get when they got exemptions from PAYGO, and that already happened. So I don't think that they got anything. I think they wanted to make it look like they were holding out. I'm not thrilled with that, but I personally think it was theater. And yet, I do not think that they are sellouts. I don't know what goes on there. None of us do. And you just
And I think we have a right to know that.
Well, I do think we have a right to know that, but I think as people who understand when somebody is on you have to trust when certain people are on your team.
Yes.
And Cori Bush is on our team.
1000%.
And so I know that. I know that Cori Bush is on our team. And I'm very comfortable with that. So, yes, I would like to know what went on. And what they got in return.
Like I said,
anything, but I honestly don't think they got
I know
anything.
It's really hard to look at how far we've come, especially in the last 2 years, but we've really come a long way. We have. And that is something.
We have. People are forgetting that. Like 5 years ago, nobody was talking about Medicare for all on a regular basis.
No one was talking about primarying corporate Democrats.
No.
But now it's expected.
Yeah. So we have come, and I agree. I think and people look at losses instead of looking at the general gradual movement. And I always say that our campaign was part of the movement. It was not just a means to an end. And the more campaigns, the further the movement will get, regardless of every individual person.
The fact that you were able to get just under 30% of the vote when we literally had to get indoors 7 months before the election.
Yeah.
And we were essentially indoors for the duration.
Yeah.
We were, completely screwed. And we still managed to put up a really solid fight.
Yeah.
The reality is people are desperate for change. They either don't know it yet, or they just haven't had it presented to them the right way.
That people are just so defeatist that they don't see light.
That is 100% true.
And I actually can say that there is light at the end of the tunnel because we see it. We do see it. It's hard to wrap your head around it because we've been brainwashed for so long that good things aren't possible.
And that, in many ways, is the legacy.
Thank you, John, for proving that people can grow and develop over time.
Yeah.
I believe in personal enlightenment.
And John, I can tell you, I was 19 years old in 2003 when I was literally sitting in one of my lectures in political science at Rutgers, listening to fellow students say we have to go into Iraq and liberate their people, and thinking, are these people nuts? Like, are they literally out of their mind?
I will say that I've always been anti that. I've always been anti-war.
But if you can't see the scam that's being pulled on you, I don't know. I mean,
well, you know, it's funny. It's like, I think everybody has their awake moment when they do hopefully.
Yes.
And some people haven't had it yet. Like for me, I knew that there were no weapons of mass destruction.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I knew it then. I remember saying it then. I remember having conversations with the judge I was clerking for. Like, I remember then saying, no, this is a ruse.
This is a ruse.
Manufacturing consent. Like, I knew it then. So for me, I knew that one. And then every subsequent one is obvious.
And think about it. Back in 2003, we didn't even have Facebook. Facebook came in 2004. So we only had MySpace at the time.
I didn't have
So I didn't have MySpace. See, I didn't understand it either. I thought it was that's why you're thankful. One thing you could thank Mark Zuckerberg for is that he actually gave us a platform to start with something that we actually would want to use. But the point is, could you even imagine what it would have been like for the Bush administration or any administration today, 10 years ago, trying to go into Iraq, knowing full well that the vice president of the United States was the CEO of Halliburton?
Well, right. The profit motive is it was absurd.
It was just so clear.
And then Cheney's like, well, I'm not affiliated with them anymore. I mean, don't mind my stock options, mind you, but I don't work there anymore. Yeah. And you can't make that up. So no, I agree. You know, at some point, everybody needs to realize that we haven't been fighting for freedom since World War II.
No.
Everything since then has been for profit.
Just remember, the last president who decided that he literally was going to take on the CIA and the military-industrial complex and say no to everlasting war took a bullet in his head in front of countless people. And from that day forward, when Jack was assassinated, it basically was to put out there to say, the president is not the leader of the free world. The people you can't see are the leaders of the free world, if you even want to call it free, because I don't really think
we're
it is.
not free.
No.
How are we free?
We're not free.
We're choosing between shit and shit light. How is that free?
They can stop one man. They can't stop every man and woman and child. That is how it can happen. We have to stop finding reasons not to get along and find reasons to get along.
It's hard. People are really, really annoying. I'm sorry, but this is what I've realized. Like, I like persons. Like, I can like a person.
Yes.
Once there's a group of people,
the group dynamic, the pack mentality, it's so dangerous.
So
that's why
I like persons, but I don't like people. And that's the thing, because once you get more than two people together, it's a shit show.
It can be.
Well, I mean, yeah. And
hey, listen, just look on social media when everybody attacks. It's like, if it's one person, it's not so bad. But when everyone's piling on, it's so bad. People
just like to fight. People like to fight.
Yeah. But you know what?
Yes, Mallory, we are only free as the least free among us. And as far as I'm concerned, we still have human beings being born in captivity in certain places. So, you know, that's not free. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.